I'm sure we can come up with something.
Oh.
I was going to say, where's this coming from? We are live now, by the way, just to let you know.
That's all right.
Okay.
Started alive with a smile.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Fernando.
This is the usual bit where
That's what I
nobody.
should- Do you know what? Next
Yeah,
time we come in, that's
we-
what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have that queued up
We can come up with something.
in Discord.
Oh, we were. I heard it. Hang on. I've got to do the pop out chat.
Yes, I'm putting.
I wonder if anybody is going to actually be in the chat
Actually,
room
should I just
before
not
we.
post just yet and see what happens?
See how many people come in based on our
Yeah.
regulars.
I mean, I'm still gonna put one up.
Sorry, this is just me doing me. No, that sounded wrong. Me doing me.
Yeah. That's just kind of ties hand in hand with that
It's
shirt.
one of those nights, isn't it? It's one of those nights.
Oh, that's for sure.
There's the little
Oh,
heart.
man.
There's the little heart.
Why is it not? Oh, so I haven't switched it. That's why. Oh, look, you love that heart, don't you?
Well, I had it down below that before, but what happened was everybody was saying, no, I'll take it just out of view like that. And there's nobody in yet, so.
It should be.
Oh, James is there. Hey, mate, how are you?
I swear, James has 7 different emails set up for notifications, so if he misses one, he gets the other 6.
Oh, hell, there's 4
Good
people.
morning,
There's 4
good
people
morning.
watching already.
Well, I've only literally just put the post out, so
Well, that's not a bad start.
yeah.
Oh, Adam Stephen. Hello, stranger. How are you?
How are we?
I better just lift that up a tiddly widdly.
Oh, you come up with the old sayings now.
It's one of those days. It's one of those days. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So, Friday the 13th.
Adam, I hope you're feeling a lot better. He's been sick. He's got a virus that's been going around.
Oh wow.
Hey, Mark. How are you, mate?
Poor guy. I hope he's feeling better.
It's 9:01. We have our chat set up, and we have
Fernando.
five people in already.
And Adam's one of those guys that will give you the shirt off his back even if it's pouring with rain.
Oh, that's
Yes.
Yeah, I am. I could familiarize myself with those people for sure.
And I've got a bone to pick with the guy that's up there.
Hmm.
What am I doing all the way down here?
Yeah, I gotta notice that too.
This guy took my spot. Oh, that guy took my spot.
I'm not. I'm not. Hey,
Hold on, wrong way.
if you want to jump out and jump back in, you can do that. But
No, we're here now.
It
It's
does
all
what
right,
it
Fernando.
does.
Enjoy my spot. Keep my seat warm.
Oh man,
are you actually working at the moment, Adam?
I noticed.
He said he's working at.
So if he's, he was only off. I spoke to him yesterday. He was crook. So if he's made a speedy recovery, even better. So Fernando, this is Adam's one of the guys that I actually met. How I met Gary through riding motorcycles. And
I've known him for a bloody 100 years. About 3 or 4 clubs worth.
Adam had an unfortunate event with the back of a pickup. He made that pickup his bitch, and survived to tell the tale.
Mm.
Oh man, I mean,
Look,
yeah, that's
look,
definitely
look,
a tale to tell.
As bad as it was, he absolutely did a stunning choreography in the air, and stuck the landing real good.
Really?
Yeah, no, he I don't know how he got away with as little injuries as he had, but I'll tell you what, man, he's made tough.
Yes, he's a very, very, very lucky boy.
Day off
Shout out to Adam.
Day off due to virus going to GP to yep.
So are we wanting
Good
to just get started now, or are we going to give it a couple more minutes to see who else comes in? Because we're sort of fairly early in, and we've already.
We've got 5 people.
Oh no, we've already got stuff going. I was hoping to crack 15 or 20 people tonight, but I don't know if we're going to get there yet.
Oh, look, I would be happy with 13.
It's one more than our record so far. Carl's not in yet.
Today.
Has Adam certainly did, and I'm looking prettier.
That's definitely a nice lucky number for today.
Look, when somebody has an accident the way he had, and he doesn't remember much of it, but his only thing that he said when he came to a bit was, "They better not cut my bloody vest."
Yes.
Hey.
That was it. But it was one of those weird ones, Fernando, that Adam was going his way, and I was going to go the completely opposite way. I was going to keep going straight. He went right.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things where you trust your gut sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I listened to my gut, turned and ended up following him, and yeah, that's...
Very lucky.
Yeah.
So this pickup truck just stopped out of
So
nowhere, or-
they were trying to turn it, because this road, there's a heap of breweries.
There you go. There's a clue.
They don't know which driveway they want to go. They don't know whether they're Arthur or Martha. And he hit his anchors before he put his indicator on, and unfortunately he wore the tailgate like a pair of sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you what, that truck did come off second best. I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah.
Yep. We're doing an episode on that next week, the missing truck.
I actually haven't seen it since.
No.
And the funny thing is, he bought a ute that was the same make and model. But anyway.
Anyway, we
get started?
Yeah, we better get started. So we'll jump into our little title bit. It is so weird watching the delayed video over here.
Yeah, I've got mine off to the right of my screen. It was like, how long is it going to take?
That's it. And then if everybody who's joining us for the first time wouldn't know, but we have our very, very good friend Fernando from Strangers Minds, also from the Big Apple, with us. How are you, mate?
Good. So far, so good. I mean, thankfully, we started off like a half hour ago because I was pretty much
Don't tell everybody that.
sleeping. And then you guys definitely was a very good welcome to this morning.
Oh, good. I'm glad we could make your morning for you.
Sure.
That's it.
Yes.
Well, it's
sure.
actually Friday the 13th is only just starting for you, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. I have a lot of plans for today, so I'm very excited for today.
Do you like
Just,
looking for Michael Myers?
It's good. It's good.
He's got a pretty good place he's going to be going to pretty much after we finish this live stream, so it'll be interesting to see what footage he gets from that. Yeah, it will be good. Will be good. Actually, it's funny. The other day, I don't know what it was I was looking up, but a whole load of stuff came up on Amityville, and the first person I thought about was you.
Yeah,
But it was more to do with the murders and things like that. It wasn't so much the haunting of it, but it was the factual side of things. And I thought, you've been there, yeah.
Yeah. It was a pretty horrendous backstory to it, and the fact that not just the house, but being within the small town that it is, like that whole area. Kind of actually the community felt a little bit more off than actually standing in front of the house.
Yeah,
That is for sure. Yeah,
sounds like Pine
because
Gap.
after the Feo, can I say it on here? Because apparently people are
It's
getting
history. It's history.
all right, so
you say people are getting cancelled?
Are you talking about Ronald DeFeo, or are you talking about the S word?
Well, I was gonna say the word. I mean, murdered, killed.
Oh yeah. No, that's fine. God, we mentioned
they were unalived.
We've mentioned Scientology and survived that. So
exactly, we survived the Scientology. We're good.
Crap, we just said it twice.
So apparently, when he killed his whole family, he went to a bar nearby.
Yes. Yep.
And yeah, it was weird. The whole atmosphere. I mean, I just felt like uneasy. But when I got in front of the house, that I actually felt a little better. I actually didn't really feel anything coming out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I mean, you know, part of his defense, which apparently has been proven to be just a story, is the demons made him do it, and that's what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about demons and exorcisms, and the you know, the difference between the real life cases and the movies that are supposedly based on reality, and what the differences are. So, what are your thoughts on demons? Now, I hate the word, but for tonight, we're going to go with it because there's no other way of getting around it. But to me...
You call them unfriendlies if you really want.
No, it just doesn't have that same oomph about it.
Oh,
you know,
it doesn't.
Demon, it's a religious term because obviously every religion has their own version of the, you know, the evil spirits opposed to the good spirits. So, you know, you've got angels and demons. In Islam, it's all the jinn. You've just got good jinn, you've got bad jinn. They're just all the same. I don't know what Scientology call them. That might be something.
What did you do?
I mentioned the S word again.
James says, why do you hate the word demons?
Because it's a religious term and I don't believe in religion. If you look at all the holy books and they talk about demons and things like that, they're all referring. They're all
demonic possession or demonic entities.
They're all referring to the same thing. So I would rather go to the source material and go right to where it's at, rather than the different interpretations of what have been passed down.
What would you call it then if it was at the source?
Well, I don't know because I haven't been to the source. It's going back. It goes as far back as the Sanskrit and stuff like that. You know, you're going back to the first nations of man. And
now,
yeah.
Actually, speaking on Adam's comment there, what do you say? Talking about this stuff, my fiance and I did an escape room based on the Warrens.
Yeah, well, I used to chat with her quite a bit.
Well, Fernando, you're gonna have to come here so we can do this escape room.
Whereabouts is that? Is that the Perth one? The Perth escape rooms, or is that in Fremantle?
There's a few somewhere. I don't know. I look, trying to get out my house as an escape room every morning, trying to dodge a toddler.
But wait a minute. Gary, you said you met Lorraine and Ed Warren?
No. I used to chat with Lorraine. Not, I've never met them in person, but I was friends with her. Oh, back when she used to do Paranormal State and things like that, and every now and then I would actually reach out and say I'd have an issue and chat to her about it and get her thoughts on everything. She was a beautiful woman. Very busy and very hard to get hold of, but she had time for me every now and then when she could fit time in. But
and James, thank you for putting it on the WAPA pages. I forgot with the link.
Is it up there? That's probably why we haven't got many people in there. We're up to 6 now.
I did every other page but the one.
The one that everybody comes to us from.
Leave my princess alone. What princess?
I don't know. Anyway, back on to
Lorraine Warren, possibly. What I was gonna say is that during my road trip throughout the summer, I actually went and visited their resting place.
Yep.
In Connecticut.
In Connecticut.
Very nice.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
man, why do you get all the good things where you are?
It's because he's in America. We get bugger all over here.
Like, look, they get all these exciting haunting places, traded off with like a school shooting every now and then, and we just get bugger all.
I mean, yes, we do have options, but you guys,
we have safety.
your locations are extreme, though.
Yeah.
Some of them, but you know, there's places I'd love to visit in America, and obviously back in England. I saw a few when I was there, but there's a lot that I would really like to go in and take the gear in and see what we could get. But
that's what I mean. Like, speaking about demonic entities and possessions and Friday the 13th and the rest of it, you look at places like England and America compared to here, and you've got so many more stories of stuff.
It's because it's older
to do with that than what we've got here, because of that culture is so much older than what we have. You know, you go back here and it's more of the Dreamtime and the things that the Aboriginals had. We didn't have much of anything to do with that sort of possession. That was hearsay, realistic to these people. Whereas with the US, you've had it for centuries and centuries. People made these stories and made correlations and comparisons to other things. We just don't have that here.
Well, for sure.
We lost Lorraine a couple of years ago, and Ed was back in the 90s or the early 2000s. I can't remember exactly, but he's been gone for quite a while. So I'm not sure of the actual dates. Fernando might know, because he's been to the resting place.
I'm very bad with dates. But this could easily be Googled.
Yes, it could. It could, if anybody had the time to Google it.
Fernando was that bad with dates, he thought it was the 12th today.
Yeah.
No. Today is like just about a holiday. I mean, we can't definitely.
It's like Christmas.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, I mean, thankfully, I was born in October. My birthday actually just passed, so I love October for sure. So I mean, a lot of stuff was going on. You know, a lot of drinking, a lot of.
You don't have to tell me twice.
So yeah,
it's water.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on demons and exorcisms?
Myself?
Well, I want both of your opinions before we really get into the nuts and bolts of it, because you both know that I've been actually in 3 exorcisms myself. Not actually in them, but I had to document them. So I've actually seen firsthand what it's all about, and we can go into that a little bit later on. But I just wanted to get your thoughts, because there's not many people that see that other than the depictions that you see in the movies and things like that. And while parts of it are very close, a lot of it is just complete Hollywood. You know what I mean?
For sure. There's actually just has been a handful of exorcism that's been reported. It's very rare, to say the least.
It is, and one of the things, to go through it properly, you really have to differentiate between mental illness and it being something more oppressive, and that's a very fine line, because the whole thing about demonic possession is they try to hide. It sounds silly, but they try to hide inside the person while at the same time doing what they do. But it's all about staying in the shadows. So a lot of it will come off as a mental illness, and I'm sure there've been mistakes in identifying them in either direction. You know, yeah, and I know. Again, I'm not going to go into names or anything like that, but I know somebody that works in mental health, and they've actually said there've been people that have come in that they are 100% sure it wasn't a mental illness. There was something going on there. You know what I mean? And sometimes it can just be a vibe, but sometimes it's just right there. But yeah, you have to differentiate between mental illness before you can even look at it. It's a bit like when we do a paranormal investigation, we have to discount every possible earthly human possibility before we can even look at the paranormal, and then we go from there. And it's the same with an exorcism, there's a lot of stages that you have to go through before you get to the actual part, which is the exorcism. And a lot of people think an exorcism is just a one session thing. They're not. Sometimes they go for weeks, sometimes they go for months, sometimes they go for years. You know, there could be, I think, like Annalise Michael, when she's the one, if you've ever seen the film The Exorcism of Emily Rose, that's based on Annalise Michael's case. There were 44 separate rites of exorcism in that whole thing before she died. And there would have obviously been more had she survived.
I'm sorry, you said how many?
44.
I see that the after 67
67?
67 attempts, it was unsuccessful.
Oh, it was 44 on the record that I was reading, but I don't know if they count some of those pre-exorcism things as sessions. I don't know, but actual exorcism rites, it was 44. I don't know, you know, where they're trying to differentiate between mental, because a lot of people said in her case that it was some sort of epilepsy and a mental breakdown that was happening, which it could be. It could explain a lot of what's going on. And if you actually look on the internet, you can actually find there's a lot of audio tapes from those sessions which are publicly available, and you can hear her voice change now. While in that case, when you hear her voice, it could sound like somebody just putting on the voice, you know what I mean? But specifically one of the ones that I witnessed, I heard the multiple voices coming out at the same time out of this woman, and there's no way you can fake that she wasn't doing it rough. It was 3 complete separate voices coming out in unison, as if you had 3 people stood side by side saying the same words, but you hear the different tones and the different, you know what I mean? It was like that.
How would you handle yourself in that situation? Like,
well, I was told by Father Barry May when I was in there, because he wanted me to document. I wasn't to do anything else except if he asked me to come over, because there was a few guys in there as well to help hold the person from doing any kind of damage to anybody or to themselves. There weren't any restraints as such. It was just to hold them down in this one. And we had to hold her down because she was starting to thrash, and she started throwing things and stuff, which in itself you could pass off as just being somebody doing that sort of thing. But the sheer strength of this woman, that she couldn't be any more than 45, 50 kilos. And there was about 3 or 4 guys my size just trying to hold her in place. And it was near on impossible until she settled herself. And there was no pea soup vomiting or anything like that, like you see in the films.
Oh.
There was no head twisting. But
oh, come on.
Again,
was there facial, warp?
Yes, there was. Now, you remember that time when we were down in Albany and you saw Jay's face change, and it was him, but it wasn't him.
Oh yeah, it looked. You knew it was him, but that face was just disfigured and unrecognizable.
It was like that, but on steroids. That's how I can describe it. And she was spitting. She started urinating everywhere. And again, I'm not going to go into everything, but the voices are the one for me. And one of the things Father Barry May said, whatever you do, he goes, just focus on the camera lens, on the viewfinder. He said, don't make eye contact. And while I was watching and whatever, she was like doing all this, and then she just went straight down the lens. And you know, when you're under night vision, your eyes can dilate a lot because you're in low light. Well, they were that dilated, it was nearly all black. And it was almost like the eyes got bigger. And I actually had 2 cameras recording side by side. I had one that was in infrared, night vision, and I had one, so everything had that green tinge to it, but the lights were on. And then I had one that was recording in full color. Now the idea being is because lights started flickering and things like that, which I'm thinking, Yeah, right. All right. This is getting very interesting. And so I had that because he actually told me that it had happened before. So that's why I had the two cameras going together. So if the lights did go out, I could still capture everything. Now, after seeing some of the things that I saw when I played those videos back, I just threw them on tapes, gave them to him, and recorded over them because there was no way I was going to look at them again. It is serious shit in that case, you know.
So I can't watch them?
No, I haven't got them anymore. I got rid of them. This was years ago. They are not something that I want to have hanging around.
No, I get that 100% with everything connected to them. You know, you got residue.
Well, when you talk about, like we did the show the other week on the Ouija boards and stuff like that, and a lot of people go, I won't have a Ouija board in the house. That's completely different to when you look evil in the face and it looks back at you. You don't want to look at that video, man. You just don't want to look at it. That. I can still picture it right now, but I won't.
You can see it in your eyes.
But I am curious to know what do the church do with these videos, because obviously they don't put them out there for the public to see. And as I was reading, the Vatican,
he was an Anglican minister. It wasn't from there. He had them recorded so that he could play back himself, and he wanted to go through it step by step to see if there were any symbols or anything that he could pick up on when he may have been looking away or doing something else. He wanted to study every single aspect of it, and he had them on file. And we lost him several years ago, but I did two with him, and then I did another one which was a spiritualistic kind of one, which was again very weird.
I think that's Hollywood getting to Fernando a little bit, because that's you watch movies and you see it, and that interferes, and people think automatically that an exorcism is Catholic.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And I know it's not, but like that's Hollywood.
Well, I say the Vatican because they do perform a lot of exorcisms,
yes.
and they do record every event. So I'm just curious to know, like, what do they do with these videos? Do they just discard it? Do they, because
I don't know. I didn't ask.
I think they just keep it, like, obviously with the Catholics and the Vatican. I think they actually keep it just in the archives.
It's not even a matter of that. I think a lot of it, especially in this day and age, is a self-protection thing. You've got an actual hard copy. It's a bit like a dash cam in a car. If something happens, you have a recording of it so you can see exactly what happened. But this lady, it wasn't the first exorcism. There'd always already been several before I was asked to come in and video this session, so I don't know if there was something specific he was expecting out of this session, but it was still going. I got in there, I think it was 6 or 7 o'clock on the evening. I set my cameras up on a tripod with a long bar so I could have them both on the same tripod. And I don't know if it was just me going, quick getaway, just pick it up and run, both cameras, but I had it set up and recording like that, and the exorcism started. Well, this rite of exorcism started at 7:30, something like that, and it would go in waves where it was almost like they would wear it out, and it would. She would sort of come back for a bit, but you could see the signs when she would start again. So there was probably 3 sessions just in this night, and it was about 4 o'clock in the morning when I actually puckered out, and he was still going. When I saw some of the stuff that I saw, which I will never repeat to anybody, it's not a Hollywood movie, man. This is the real thing, and when you see it for real, you do realize that you are dealing with forces that we don't understand, and we don't. I just don't know how much power they actually have. To see this little. I mean, she was a mum, right? She would have been in her maybe early 40s, and she had 20-somethings and teenage girls. It was like a female family, and it was scaring the girls where it was going to go to, and I don't know what happened with that, because obviously confidentiality. My part was just to record that session, which we did twice on 2 separate cases, and then I didn't ask anything else after that. Now I'm only talking about the worst case one, because the other one that we did with him, there was some weird stuff, but it was nowhere near as full on as what that one was, you know. And then the third one was the spiritual one. She wasn't a religious person as such, she was a spiritualist, so it was very different. It was a very different kind of it was almost like a more laid back kind of thing, you know. There was smudging involved, there was interesting stuff, like I was always told stay out of the corners of the room because the devil and evil spirits can enter through a corner of a room or something along those lines. You have to stay in a certain, and that's part of the reason why when you see the movies and stuff, they do the ring of salt and stuff like that, because it's there's no corners there, and also salt being the cleansing properties of salt and stuff.
So James has asked, do we know what caused the possession to start with?
Well, there's different stages. Now, nobody is just automatically possessed. What happens is, obviously, if somebody is prone to it, or if something has happened in their life and they're really low, their vibe is really low. From my understanding, it's those low vibes that actually entice the demons in. And what they do is, the first part is like, I think it's called demonic oppression or something like that, which is where you'll hear voices and it whispers things in, and it tries to influence you to do things that are bad, but it's not actually directly controlling you, but it's telling you you're worthless, you know, you should just go kill yourself and stuff like that, bringing your vibe down even lower to a point where you just accept it. And it's at that point that they say a demon can actually then take possession of your body, and that's when the films sort of kick in. They always kick in around that point where weird stuff's going on, and so there's a lot of stages to it.
They do say there's 4 stages of a possession.
Yeah.
As an outline, you got your infestation, oppression, obsession,
yeah,
and then possession.
Yeah.
Lots of shins.
Yeah.
Like I personally, I couldn't imagine seeing a exorcism. I've seen a possession, as you've mentioned, if you could call it a possession. But,
yeah.
You know, what do they do? Like, especially back in the day, what did they do if they couldn't exorcise the demon? That you use that word again. There you go.
The
Mm-hmm.
The Exorcism of George Lukens.
Yep.
So I would assume that before this, you know, let's go way back before society was around. I think they would just, you know, unalive them due to their
That's what I was getting to.
You know, due to their erratic behaviors. I mean, I would assume they would even think they're like witches at some point. I mean,
well, that goes into a whole other show.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
But yeah, a lot of. I think the big thing that you can take from actually witnessing one of these things is, you know, that you get the heebie-jeebies, you get the goosebumps when you watch one of these films. You magnify that by 100, and that's what it's like to actually be in there. And what you don't realize is when you finish watching a film, you go, yeah, wasn't a bad film, a couple of jump scares and stuff like that. When you're driving home after witnessing that, it's all that's on your mind. It is all, you know, and then the next thing that's on your mind is, I hope it's not hitching a ride home with me, because I don't know how I could deal with something like that.
No, I can feel that. That's for sure. I was just looking then after I mentioned about putting him in asylums. I was looking at, you know, I was trying to figure out what that one asylum is in the US. It's notorious.
You got Waverly Hills.
That's the one.
Yep.
And then, sorry, a picture of Old Changi Hospital in Singapore popped up.
I've been there.
And that just brought goosebumps from the top of my head down to my toes. That's what I shook for just then. I'm going, that place just looks like it's a manifestation of bad things.
Oh, it is. When I was there, there's actually a film out called Old Changi Hospital. Now, the rumor behind that, well, the history behind it is obviously it was originally built as a hospital, and then I think the British used it as a base, as one of their bases. They used to use Bukit Chandu as well in the Second World War, but Bukit Chandu and the old Changi Hospital were two of the bases now. When the Japanese invaded, it was on around my birthday in February when they actually invaded Singapore. The main front happened through Bukit Chandu, and there was a lot of macabre stuff that happened there. But they eventually end up taking over the old Changi Hospital, and when they would capture soldiers and stuff like that, there was all sorts of torture and things like that would happen. There was people that were sent in there that never came out. They never saw the bodies or anything. There were supposed to be hidden rooms in there which you can only get to through certain tunnels and stuff. Now the rumor is that there is actually a fixed portal somewhere in there where if you walk in and you find this, you crawl through this tunnel and you come out the other side and you walk back outside out into the air, you're actually back in 1943, 1944 in the Second World War, and the Japanese are all around. And there have been actual artifacts found as if somebody's come through the other way. They've never actually found the thing, but they've actually found samurai swords which they can't explain, and they've been dated. Yeah, the carbon dating they can't actually fix on it because the techniques involved and everything. It's like an old imperial sword, but the metallurgist, I don't know what you call them, the metal people anyway. They turn around. Yeah, they turn around, and not the Cybermen. No, they said it's definitely Imperial Japanese steel, but just because of the age of it, it should be more weathered, and it should be different characteristics to it, which just aren't there. It's like it's come straight out of the press, and you know, when it's been forged and everything, and there's things like that about it. Now, when we were there in 2013, it was a few years after they'd made this movie about it, just some Singapore people and everything, and we were there with the Singapore Paranormal Investigators, which is a team. Now they're like rock stars over there. Singapore eat up the paranormal like it's crazy, you know. And what happened was we went out there, and the main part of the hospital is being now converted into a hotel, so you can stay there. Now there's several other outbuildings around, and we got to go through a couple of them, but the main ones that you want to get into are still so haunted. They have a sign up saying the security cameras and trespassers will be shot.
Cameras will be shot?
No, trespassers will be shot, and they've got security cameras to alert them if anybody jumps the fence or anything. So when we were going back, I stopped off where the workmen were and asked them if they'd had any issues, and they said they've had several work stops where they've had to come out because they've witnessed things happening. And I can't remember how many times now they've had priests in, they've had just about every religious denomination you can think in there to try and clear the energies of what's going on there. So there's something evil. There was something evil there, and last I heard it opened up, and you can actually now stay there if you want to.
Yeah, no, it's one place I'll pass on. Hey,
it's quite interesting because if you've ever been to Singapore, you've got the main part of Singapore over here, and then you sort of go out to Changi, which is where the airport is, but it's also where the old prison is, the old Changi prison. And then you've got the old Changi Hospital, and it's completely surrounded by the Singapore military bases everywhere.
Well, don't get me wrong, the place looks like it'd be pretty cool to go through with a group of people you trust. But if you sent me there by myself, if I died, I would find you and haunt you for the rest of your life.
Well, I've actually got somewhere on my. If you want to go back like 10, 12 years through my Facebook, you'll actually find photos when we were at the Changi Hospital.
So going back to exorcisms.
Yep.
The Exorcist was based on true events.
Yes.
The actual Hollywood movie.
Yes.
I didn't realise this until looking back a couple of weeks ago.
The original one started in 1949.
Yes, with Ronald Doe at the time.
Yep.
which then
which isn't his real name. That's one that they've used as a substitute.
No, that was just Ronald Doe they used. He was Ronald Hunkler.
Yeah.
Now I didn't realize at the time that movie was based on true events.
Yes, it is.
And it's, look, as Hollywood does, it throws its own spin on things and makes it more enjoyable for the people to watch and trying to scare them more. Look, if an exorcism is really as bad as what you have said it is in the worst case scenarios, I don't think Hollywood needs to twist anything because it sounds pretty twisted as it is.
It's not, but they have to do things to shock scares and things like that. Now, the real case, like I said, it was well, you watch the film. It was that girl Regan, which was played by Linda Blair. Now, she was a 12-year-old girl, supposedly in the film. The real case, he was a 14-year-old boy, and it started out in, I think it was Mount Rainier in Washington, I think that is, and that's where they started the exorcism process. And what happened was it got that violent that he actually attacked several people, and they couldn't control it, and they needed to move further afield with it. And in one of these sessions, they got this thing about Lewis or something Lewis, and they took it as a sign that they had family in St. Louis, so they ended up moving to St. Louis. And then at the house, that's where the exorcisms continued. Now, this, what was it? I think originally it was Lutheran ministers that started the exorcism process. Yep. And it wasn't until he moved to St. Louis that the Catholics got involved as well. And that's where it stepped up even further. And then they moved him to a hospital to finish it, and this is where the final rites of exorcism. Now, this took several years. This whole thing, it took several years, and eventually they were able to expel the spirits. And once they were out, they locked the room where the exorcism took place, and that room was never opened again. Well, it was never opened again. And it wasn't until such time that part of the building ended up being demolished to make way for some new buildings. So it's gone now completely. Now, going back to the start, so many people heard about especially when the Exorcist film came out. So many people researched and found about the real thing that they kept turning up to the house in Washington, thinking that's where it was, to the point where they ended up demolishing the house, and it's just a vacant block now on the corner. Because they were trying to steal parts to steal a letterbox or steal this.
Because I'd seen here that it actually said that he left his house every Halloween because he did not want people showing up.
Yeah, well it's gone, and then what happened was the house in St. Louis is still there.
Yep.
And I think the family still own it, but the main points were. The church, so after the house, then it went to the rectory where stuff happened, then it went to the hospital where it all finalised. Now, after that, and this gives you an indication that it was definitely a possession and not just a mental illness. He ended up going on to work for NASA.
Yes, I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, so you don't, if you've got mental illness, you are not going to
work for NASA.
No. So he ended up, and he only died a few years ago, I think, in the 2000s.
On his 86th, just a month shy of his 86th birthday in 2020.
Yeah, so it wasn't long ago at all. And he passed
at his home in Marriottsville, Maryland, after the series of exorcisms that Hunkler went through as a child. He actually had an incredibly successful career as an adult working for NASA. He actually helped patent the technology to make shuttle panels resistant to extreme heat for the Apollo missions in the 1960s.
Very intelligent man. Yeah. And you don't get to that level of education and knowledge when you're carrying something on some sort of mental illness on board, you know.
Apparently there was only a few close friends and academics that knew about his secret life event.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other people are out there in society, in your neighborhood, maybe next door, who are going through this same sort of thing, and you just don't know anything, and you see people, you go, yeah, you're crazy.
Well, he worked for NASA for 40 years.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Imagine trying to keep that secret for 40 years. that you were the person that these movies were based upon.
Yeah.
That's big.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, he retired from NASA in 2001.
Yeah.
You know, that's big. Like, that's
it's messing with your head a little bit there, isn't it? Yeah. So
I mean, Hollywood tend to take real stories, but mold them into something to catch your attention, because even the Pope's Exorcist was based off a real exorcist, Father Gabriel.
Yeah,
is it Amorth?
Yes.
So I believe I read somewhere that he performed over 50,000.
Yeah, I heard over 60. I heard over 60,000. So yeah, it's a massive number. What was that?
That came up when we were talking about the was it the last live one of the lives we did? We were talking about Vatican secrets and the exorcisms.
Yes,
that came up.
Yeah. And you think about it, right? Okay, if he's performed 50,000 or 60,000 exorcisms over his lifetime, you break that down per day that he was doing it, and how many exorcisms he was actually doing. He was a full-time exorcist.
But that makes you think then as well, like, what did he do in his spare time if he had spare time?
Well, the other thing as well that I find interesting is, considering exorcisms are so rare, and they are, how can one man be so busy doing them day in, day out?
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of a toll will that take on a person? Because I can tell you what spending several hours in one possession or a demonic, exorcism did to me. But a lifetime of that, what it does to you, I don't know.
How many people have unalived themselves because of it, though?
And quite often, because people don't talk about this thing, and then they just do that, it gets signed off as mental illness. It's not to say that there are a lot of mentally ill people out there, but I definitely think there's a lot of crossover between the two.
This seems like a really good time to plug men's mental health.
Definitely. Always look out for your own mental health. Yes.
Your mates.
That's it. What's the
so
just ask your mates, are you okay?
So do you think that every I guess you could say possession to which the person needed it to get exorcised, you think it was due to you see, like, I feel like I shouldn't even say the word, because you don't even, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable with it. Lemons. The lemons.
The lemons. Lemonic possession.
Say it. Just say it. Good.
Look at that setup.
It's in the title to the episode, so it's going to get weird if you talk. If you get weird talking about them all and calling them lemons, it's just going to go very, very weird, very, very quickly.
There was a
but do you think all of these situations with exorcists and exorcisms, do you think they were all due to demons, especially like your experience?
That's a tough one, because for me, you've got to define what a demon is. Now, when we do a paranormal investigation, you do come across negative spirits that some people say, oh, it's demonic. No. From my understanding, right, a demon cannot step foot in our world, in our existence. They can manipulate, they can influence, and they can possess the body of somebody who is in this world, but they can't themselves step into our plane of existence. So it all happens from the edges and stuff like that. Now, when you're talking about evil spirits, just the term spirit, to me, I define that as somebody who may have lived here and they've just taken their anger with them. So there's a definite difference there. And they can sometimes cause enough issues with people, whispering in their ears and things like that, that it could be very easily mistaken as demonic oppression or infestation or one of those kind of things. So it is weird. Now, when, I'm not going to name names, but years ago we did a an investigation at an old orphanage here, and in fact, some of the footage is on our YouTube channel, and we did a board session, not a board session, we just did a table session where our psychic at the time was trying to invite the spirits of these kids in to try and find out what was going on, because it was a religious based boys home orphanage and a lot of dodgy stuff apparently happened, and she ended up getting possessed, I guess. This wasn't by a demon, it was just by a spirit, and from there it you saw her face change, her voice patterns changed, she was slurry a little bit, it was very childlike and very temper tantrum, and she started shaking and smashing the table. Now this is not something that anybody on my team ever would have done, because there was probably $4,000 or $5,000 worth of gear on the table at the time, you know, with cameras and meters and things like that. So I've seen spiritual possession as well as the demonic, and to me they are two very different things.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding to demons would be inhuman spirits,
yes,
who are called upon or summoned to our world.
In some cases, yes. In some cases, yes. Now, one of the big things, especially about with a Catholic rite of exorcism, it's all about getting the spirit's the demon's name, because once you know who it is, it loses all of its power, apparently, and that's why they quite often say there's a lot of power in a person's name. It's the same in that as well. Now, I don't know the law behind that, but it's definitely a thing, and I don't understand that. But yeah, I saw some weird stuff. Like, if you ever seen that film The Rite with Anthony Hopkins, and there's that girl that's getting possessed in that. There was none of that gymnastics that you see. I didn't see any of that in this one, but or big nails coming out of her mouth and stuff like that. But like I said, the face was messed up, scratches everywhere, which could have been done by herself. So I'm trying to play the skeptic in all of this.
You have to be there.
But when you see, well, it wasn't an investigation for me. I was just documenting, but in my head, I was like, yeah, I can explain that away. I can explain that away. Then these, what I describe as triple voices, started happening. I go, yeah, that one's a bit tougher. And then this little 50-kilo woman, you know, 3 or 4 guys trying to just keep her in place. And the strength, that wasn't normal. So, and then I think the kicker for me was when, you know, she was all this scream, and then she just went and the eyes just not just went straight through, but see, I've got goosebumps. I don't even know if you can see them on the camera, but I've got the goosebumps just thinking about that, because
what you're explaining to me sounds like a diabetic with low sugar.
It was pure evil. I'm not a religious person, and I'm not putting it into a religious term, but that was pure evil that I looked at then.
Well, I mean, when you're talking about exorcisms and things that go hand in hand with those, that basically comes down to religious, full stop. Like, you look at the origin of exorcisms and possession, it all goes back to that same thing of religion, unfortunately.
Well, no, but what it's about. Now, this is something that a lot of people don't understand, but when they hear exorcism, they automatically go straight to it's the Latin or something like that. The language doesn't matter. The language is all about what the person understands, because the words that they're reading from the rites of exorcism, which have been in their books for so long, they're not magic words. They don't magically do anything. It's all about, remember how I said a person has to be so low in their vibration that they're just totally oppressed. It's about building their vibe back up and building their self-worth up to the point where it's uncomfortable for the demon to be there. And that's when this struggle starts. And when this struggle starts, usually that's when a person feels like they might have a fighting chance, but it's hard. That's where, when you do an exorcism, it has to be a person doing the exorcism in the same faith. So you couldn't have like a Muslim or a rabbi, doing an exorcism on a Catholic person. It has to be specific to the religion that they're doing. And, it could be the fucking Pastafarian monster, or whatever. I said the swear word then. The Pastafarian monster, or anything. It's about building that person up to the point. Basically, the person expels the demon themselves.
Negativity.
But it's what the priest or the official does to get them to that point, which does it. If I don't know if that makes sense to everybody. I don't know if you can let me know in the chat if that makes sense. But yeah, that's what it's all about.
You actually answered James' question.
About to say that literally as I saw that question right up, as it popped up, Gary was literally just saying the exact same thing about can demons or just spirits possess you.
Yes, they can.
That was just like bang, second for second. But Gary, if you're ever possessed, you do realize I'm just going to rock up with the speaker playing Bobby McFerrin, Don't Worry, Be Happy. Because I'm sorry, it's a great song, but that's enough to piss anybody off.
I was just about to say, unless you want an absolute homicidal maniac on your hands, do not play that song to me. No.
And you're definitely not a 40, 50 kilo little
I'm not
either. You'll whip all of our asses.
It's all right. We have the solution. Motorcycle or wife. You bring either one of those in, I'm sure he'd be like, okay.
The weakness.
Gary, well, let's be honest, Gary. Now, not that I ever would, because it's actually traumatic if it does happen. But if you do get possessed, I'm just going to tell you I'm going to torch your bike. You'll snap out of it pretty quick.
I'll turn it into bloody, what's his name, Ghost Rider then. No one's touching my bike. Bugger that stuff.
See?
Are you guys familiar with any well-known demons?
Yeah.
As in...
Well, you've got Lucifer, you've got Baal, Lilith. There's a whole number of them. And this is the thing. We had a guy who wanted to join WAPA a long time ago, and he approached us saying that he was a demonologist. And here we go. He rattled off a few demon names, this, that, and the other. That does not make you a demonologist. You've got to do lots of study, and you've got to understand religious philosophy, and there's lots of things involved. You don't just read a book and go, yeah, I can do it. You know what I mean? There's so much behind. You know what it's like when you read a book. There's so much behind the words that people don't understand, and it's all about experience and stuff.
Also, I mean, when you say about the different demons, the only thing I can believe is like with Lucifer with pride, Beelzebub with envy, Satan wrath, Abaddon is sloth, Mammon is greed. It just goes off to the 7 deadly sins. Really, it just ties hand in hand. You got pride, envy, wrath, sloth, greed, gluttony, and lust.
Yeah, well, they're not.
Would you consider Lucifer as a demon?
Well,
what basically when you talk about Lucifer, Satan, and Beelzebub, they're all 3 different names for the same thing.
Yes.
I mean, me personally, I think I will categorize them as fallen angels.
Well, I suppose that's the definition that the Bible gives to a fallen angel.
And this is where I have my problem.
Demons would be like their foot soldiers, wouldn't it? I mean, this is just me.
That's minions, wouldn't it?
Not the little yellow things with one eye.
No, not the yellow things trying to hatch a master plan. Banana.
No, yes. Well, you are correct that Lucifer was a fallen angel, and he was supposed to be the next. Well, he and Michael the Archangel were supposed to be the 2 most powerful, so that's why they were at each other's throats. And this is where I have my issues with religion, because I don't have a word about anybody that actually does it. I'm more than happy, you do whatever makes you feel good. But when you talk about them like that, then so the good turn bad. And then when you talk about Muslims, they talk about the jinn. They're a good jinn and they're a bad jinn. It's exactly the same thing, but it's written from a different. It's like the Last Supper, right? And well, now we're talking about religion and stuff, which is all part of the whole thing. Now you had 12 apostles around Jesus and what have you. Each one of those has written their own gospels and this, that, and the other, and certain ones have been chosen to be included in certain holy books, and the rest of them have been put to the side. Every one of them talk about the same stories, but they're from a different point of view. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then that gets passed down, and then you get to now, and then you've got several complete different religions based off books which are all different accounts of the same things happening. Mm-hmm. And this is why I always say, go back to the source rather than read what's happening down here. It's like Chinese whispers. You don't know what's true and what's not when you get down here. But if you go to the front, that's where you find out what really happened. And that's religion in a nutshell for me. I have my beliefs and things like that, which, you know, everybody does have, whether they say it or not. They do have certain beliefs, but I would not follow specific religious doctrine, no matter which way around it goes.
Yeah. I actually brought up that question about if you guys know any, specific demons out there, because weirdly enough, a couple of years back, when I was getting into, I myself never had a personal experience with demons, thankfully, but I got into, I guess, a phase to which I was curious about demons. And then as I was going, through, there's a website out there that has just names of different entities. But I came across one, and I am even hesitant to even say it, because apparently it is known to be a Ouija board demon. And apparently if you say this demon's name too many times, like Candyman, Bloody Mary, it would appear. Long story short, after I did this research, like within a week, Ghost Adventures, they had an episode, and they started talking about this specific demon. Mm-hmm. And just coincidentally, how everything happened. And that night, I gotta tell you, it was a difficult night, and for some reason it felt as though like it kind of something manifested within my household. Like I, right next to my wife, I woke up and there was this blacker than the darkness kind of shadow.
Wow. You know what you just described then? If anybody watches one that we did on Albany, I described it as that the room was black, but then something was there that was blacker than the black, and it was, so I totally know what you're talking about there.
Yeah. So it was just kind of weird how this chain of events happened within like a week. So it's just interesting that especially the topic that we're on, exorcists and demons. It was
there's a good show which is probably one of the first shows that I ever watched on paranormal investigation. It's an old one, but it's definitely worth watching, and that's, if you haven't seen it, it's Paranormal State. Now that's with Ryan Buell and Heather Taddy and Katrina's first gig, Katrina Wyman, and quite regularly you will see Chip Coffey in there, and you will also see Lorraine Warren in there, and my mate Chad Kalick as well. Now that first 2 seasons, it's definitely worth watching. One of the episodes, they come across a girl who's gone through like a possession, and they try to deal with that, and you actually see scratches start to appear while on camera, and there was nobody doing these things. And there were some episodes of that which actually gave me goosebumps.
I was a pretty big fan of. Penn State, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's one of the more realistic ones. I actually like it better than Ghost Hunters and Taps, which, you know, they're the holy grail of ghost hunting and stuff. But I actually thought what they did in Paranormal State was very realistic. In fact, you know how we've done the Gansfeld experiment a few times?
Mm-hmm.
They do that in the in Paranormal State as well. And you get some very interesting stuff.
I actually got into, I mean, I've always been into the paranormal, but due to Ghost Hunters and Taps, I got into paranormal investigating.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, when I was introduced to Penn State, I actually ended up respecting them a lot more, just because they're not in there to just capture evidence. Actually, like, there's only probably like 5 minutes within one episode where they're doing investigating, but they really try to get rid of these things and help people. That's what really drew me to them.
Yeah,
I think the aspect of trying to help people is a bit more humane and more relatable for some people, rather than watching it for a whole entertainment purpose.
Well, you go on a journey.
I didn't know a heap of the paranormal sort of stuff until I actually met Gary. I knew it was there. I knew that people had encounters. I had an idea that, you know, it could plausibly be a real thing. And it wasn't until Gary stepping forward to me and talking about it, I'm like, well, I'm not the only one that kind of has this thought pattern.
I still remember that first time.
It opened it up so much to me, and it was more of like, all right, I've got some gifts. How do I help people? And it's just trying to figure out how can I push people, because you get people going, oh, you know, I don't know much about this and this and this is happening in my house, and you're trying to speak to this complete stranger, and they're like, oh no, you got something wrong in your head.
Yeah, Fernando, just to fill you in, right? The first time, Jeremy and I used to ride a lot together and stuff like that, but the first time I brought him on a ghost investigation, we went out there, and I don't know if he knew what to expect, but we were doing a session with the dowsing rods, and somebody came through that were very specific to Jeremy, and there was a few things that came through in my head, and I can't even remember what they were now, but I said them out, and apparently they even clicked with Jeremy as well. But some of the questions and what have you, and that, I still remember you had to have a small break from that at that point.
Yeah,
because
I just didn't know how to handle it. It was just an emotional overload.
And that was
and now, thanks to that, the bloody dowsing rods won't leave me alone. Have you ever used dowsing rods before, Fernando?
Actually, my wife has dowsing rods.
Yep. I've got a set in my car and a set in my office here behind me. It's to the point where I can sit in my backyard with dowsing rods in the middle of the day and show a friend how they work. It's weird, man. Like, I didn't believe that these two things could correlate with each other, the spiritual realm and just dowsing rods.
Yes, Adam, it was the tunnel. Yeah.
Like, to the point where if I've had people around me and I've been sitting in the backyard with my dowsing rods and saying, my dogs are outside, make those rods follow my dogs. And without hesitation, wherever the dogs went, those rods went. You can ask Gary, we've had points where people have tried to use dowsing rods in certain locations. I've grabbed them and it's just like a whole new ball game. And it's a blessing, but it's a curse as well.
Yeah, for sure. I have my experiences with dowsing rods. Do you guys think that dowsing rods would be within the same category as, I'm not sure, I can't think of the name right now, but it's like a wooden plates and then you hang over like a string over that?
Oh, a pendulum.
Yes. And then you ask a question, and if it's
that's scrying. Yeah.
I don't know. I have my ifs and buts about that, because you get a lot of the modern ones that are made, and there's magnets in the actual pendulum that's swinging and in the base. So realistically, that's lucking it down to chance. I see it in that way.
with the use of dowsing rods,
No,
you can see when someone's forcibly
you don't
trying to
understand.
manipulate things.
Yeah, you don't understand with the pendulum. It's not like what you see in the films.
I'm talking about the newer ones.
Okay.
The boxes that people are using on these little apps now.
On
TikTok and that.
Yep.
And they've got these things, they flick it and it comes down to polarity at the end of it with these small little boxes. Old school, traditional, hold the string with the pendulum, different story.
Traditionally, it should be a crystal as well. And it's not about dropping down on a map and go X marks the spot. It's about holding it still. And much like with dowsing rods, where you ask it to cross the rods or point in a certain direction, you got yes or no, you can make it spin in a circle or swing from side to side, so you get the same energies working. It's a bit different, but it's basically the same. If you know, it sounds silly, I know that,
it's
different, but basically the same.
Like that bell rope. It was like that bell rope.
Yeah,
Fairbridge.
Yeah.
That's why I brought it up, because I've seen it. I've seen people use it, and it's, you know, as they hold it, you know, it's completely still. And once they ask a certain question, you see just going, like, really catching momentum too. So it's I've got footage somewhere of when we went to a place down in Fairbridge.
In Jarrah, yeah.
It's probably some of the best. Like, I'm not trying to blow my own horn here, but it's probably some of the best footage or clearest footage that I've seen of things like this. There was a bell rope, and we were asking. We had seen a figure up the top, and had communicated with him and got acknowledgement of who he was and what he was at the time. He was the bell ringer. That was his job. And we ended up getting the rope on a calm day with no wind to move about 3 foot.
Yep.
Out to my hand and touch my hand and go back. And you can clearly see in the video nobody's touching the rope, except for when it comes to my hand. There's about four of us around that rope.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything else like it in my life.
No.
I've never experienced anything like that. It threw me completely off. But in that same church as well, there was stuff that wasn't happy.
No, there wasn't.
To be in there.
Well,
I ended up walking out with scratches on the back of my neck.
We did sneak in there, so I.
This is during broad daylight.
Oh, that was earlier in the day. Yeah.
I was in there with our lovely medium psychic that comes with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up walking with 3 lines, literally right there on my neck, 3 scratch marks.
And that's what I said to him. You know what the 3 scratches represents.
So I could believe in possession, but hey, let's be honest. Anybody that tries to possess me in my life, good luck to them.
And this is the other thing where they turn around and say that it can't actually physically inhabit in our world, but they can still manifest and create scratch marks on a person and things like that. You know, you watch the films where they scratch names out and things. That has actually been reported. I haven't witnessed that. I've witnessed scratches manifest right in front of you, and I'm talking about not just a little one, I'm talking about a big one where the skin was raised. I've seen them happen, but not like where it puts a whole name and stuff like that. I haven't seen that, but it has been reported, so I don't know the validity behind that, but it's very interesting stuff. Very scary stuff as well.
I've been marked myself, not with 3 scratches, but what seems to be a triangle of sorts.
Well, that's still 3 points. It's still 3 points.
Yeah, I was actually.
Yeah.
I was actually in the Dominican Republic walking around this property, and on the property there's like this, like a tut, or I don't know how you guys were pronounced, like little ranch tut. No walls, it's just a roof of hay. But there was a lot of reports on that location, and as I was walking around, doing our thing, when it was time to leave, and when I got home, I to take a shower and everything, since we had to troop it like through the jungle basically to get to this place, there was pretty noticeable right on the left side of my ribs, a pretty noticeable triangle. And yeah.
And yes,
It was pretty-
James is correct. I did get scratched at Fremantle Cemetery, and I did get marked as well when we were out in Jarrahdale. Remember in the
tunnel as well.
Yeah, they like to have a crack at me.
So predominantly the 3 lines is a mark of destruction from a demon, or they call it the mark of the demon.
Yes.
Also, Trinity, the mark of the Trinity.
Yeah.
It's mocking the Trinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So generally when it's 3 in a line, what they're saying is it's destruction or to destroy. Well, hey, good luck on that, because I've got a pretty good time going on here.
Yeah, anyway, we have gone over, so we will have to start wrapping things up in the next few minutes.
Oh,
well, that's
wow, time flew by.
It always does, mate. It always does.
If we carried on any longer, we'd have Fernando in the shower getting ready to go.
We don't want to see that. We have limits to what we want to see.
I do have a nice, good day planned for myself for Friday the 13th today. So yeah, definitely. Time flew by. I didn't even realize.
It does. It always does. It always does. Now, we have another episode coming out on Tuesday, which you are all going to enjoy. And as usual, you will see us all here every Friday and doing our live stream thing. And for you guys, if you want to actually come on and say hello, we actually haven't done it the last couple of weeks, but we do take calls. That was all part of the reason behind this, but the chat room seems to be going off. And we're actually getting to the point where we have an investigation coming up later in the month, and what we're going out to. And then I've actually said to James that we'll have a bit of a meeting. We'll start planning the next 3 or 4 months of public investigations, Skywatch nights, CE5 sessions.
Coming into summer now, so.
And a few different things like that, because Adam said he wouldn't mind coming out again, so we'll have to arrange that. But if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe so that you get notified every time we've got a new video out or when we go live, and you can join in.
So just quickly, Mark, you were saying about Keanu Reeves at Constantine a little bit back before. I did see that, but I didn't reply to it. Constantine was loosely based on the comic Hellblazer. There is realistically no truth behind that series.
No, it's Marvel have taken it now.
What?
I believe it's DC.
That's DC.
Is it DC? Sorry, I knew it was one of the two.
It was going to start a bitch.
I knew it was one of the comic franchises. I knew it was one of the two, but there's actually, if you don't know it, there's actually a TV show called Constantine as well. There's only one season of it, and in that one, John Constantine is a pommy bloke, and I actually really like the show. It is really well done, and it's like with Firefly, man. They stopped it just when it was getting good, and we never got any more. But there's a few other shows where it actually, the character does pop up, and the actor playing the character does pop up. And of course, obviously, as mentioned, there's a new one with Keanu Reeves coming out in the next year or two.
So, keeping on point with the possessions and demonic possessions and whatnot else, there is also another comic that was called Preacher. There was a TV series made of that as well.
Yep.
Absolutely phenomenal to watch. Great to pass time, and it goes into the whole possession and everything else and how it works. I think there's a character in there called Arseface. He tried to unalive himself with a shotgun and ended up with a wound here that looked like a
bumhole.
Exit point. Yes. It is a good one to watch as well.
No, so I think we will close it down now. So last comments from everybody and everybody in the chat. If you want to have any quick things to say, now's the time to say them, because we will be going soon.
And don't forget to check out Fernando at Strangest Things. Strangest Minds. Strangest Things.
Strangest Things. That's a TV show, man.
It is. Hey, look, we're getting him some publicity.
yeah, for sure.
He's got some very good, very, very good footage that he's put up and put through.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Coming soon for sure.
Fernando's going to be a semi-regular on here. He's going to be on more often than not, I suppose.
I think he might be our resident guest.
Yeah.
To an extent, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. As long as I get invited to the party, I'll be there. For sure.
We actually did say that we would start looking at bringing in a guest on the third screen every few weeks or every couple of weeks. So if any of you guys want to actually come on air and talk about any of the topics with us, you have to have a good quality microphone and you have to have a good video, and we can bring you in and you can spend an hour chatting with us and you'll be on camera.
If you got a good camera, we'll set aside the good looks bar. Like,
I didn't mention the good looks.
That's what I mean. Like, we'll let that slide.
You guys have no idea what I went through this morning with Jeremy and Gary.
Hey, whoa!
That just sounds wrong, man. Come on.
I know it. Well, that's a bit homophobic.
Have you noticed we're all wearing caps, but there's only one wearing a white cap because he's just not playing ball?
So, hang on a second, Fernando.
It's actually great.
Fernando, like, is that?
I'm here drinking coffee.
You look at that hat, and all I picture from that is white America.
Oh.
No, I'm joking. I would say you're the last person.
James, more than just a cap, mate. Seriously.
Oh, man.
Not everybody can have the same physique as myself.
Nobody really wants the same physique.
Is that a Lucky Charm?
This one?
Oh, yeah. It is. But,
it's Boston Celtics.
Nice.
See, I don't understand it though. They're the Celtics, but yet they use a 3-leaf clover, not a 4-leaf clover. But their mascot's called Lucky.
Lucky Larry Bird.
Hey, Larry Bird was a legend.
Oh yeah. For sure.
But that is getting completely off topic.
Yes.
A little bit.
Well, we're at the end of the show now, so we can drift a little bit.
We did extremely good to stay on topic that whole segment.
We didn't do too bad. Didn't do too bad at all, no. So, if anybody's got any ideas on what they want for the next topic, because obviously we are taking suggestions as well, and
how to make $1 million.
Mark gave us one which we are working on, and it is on our list, so that will be happening soon as a normal show. But if you have any topics for these discussion nights and
actually, Gary, I've been thinking since we started the live.
Yeah.
Do you know one person that's missing in this live chat?
Carl.
Where's Carl?
Obviously, demons scare him. There's actually a few people missing. Jay's not in. Lee's not in.
I'm thinking the S group might have got hold of him.
Oh.
He did post. He did post.
Hey,
he posted something today about some weird conspiracy thing, and now he's gone quiet.
Look, let's be honest. Those S peoples might have just handed Carl back and said, "Well, man, you're too much for us."
You know what? You know what we need to do?
Go check on Carl.
I'll get my camera set up, and we will go and take a walk down to the S Club. I was going to S Club 7. We're going to take a walk down to the S Club clubhouses, and we'll go in and.
Have you seen Carl? Wait, let's do it. Did you take Carl? They would have no idea what the hell's going on. What did you do with Carl?
Mark, astral projection is coming. Lynn's just busy, and it is definitely happening. So
look,
it's not just a promise. I have even got the thumbnail already made up. So it is happening.
Thank you. For sure.
Free Carl.
By the way, I'm heading towards a psychiatric center, insane asylum today,
and not as a patient.
To try out a new drone. So let's see how that turns out. Hopefully, I don't lose the drone. But
we have the place named the same, but it sounds merely as cool now that we know about this other place.
Yeah, I know, but we have some weird stuff happening in our place of the same name as well. There's dodgy stuff that happens out there.
Yeah, there's been anything from witches,
devil worshippers, yep,
to homeless people being killed, sacrificed, and going missing.
Yep.
To a lot of things. And look, the size of that place probably is no comparison to where you were going, Fernando. But if you look at the bushland that's around it, like, you look at it and think, you know what? people could have offed a few homeless people here and just really couldn't have cared less.
Nope.
Wow.
You'd never know. Apparently, so there's a big story behind it saying that these witches of the 13 tree would actually help these people, or the homeless, or out by casting spells on the people wanting to do these malicious, malevolent things and sending them home as if they were a drunk person on a night out.
Oh wow.
There's some big stories into it.
It almost has a feel of what's that children's story with the witch and the candy house, the ginger.
Oh, the old
Hansel
Hansel and Gretel, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope nobody ain't
feel-
raping no kids.
You never know. You never know.
No. Anyway, we're going to call it now, guys. So, say your
Honestly,
goodbyes.
it's Fernando to see shut this one up, eh?
Well, Fernando is now going to sing us out of the show with a good ABBA song.
I have no idea what that is.
I think he's forgotten the words.
It's a
Yeah,
song that I wrote about him.
See, have you noticed the
Really?
difference when I get close to the microphone? I get that radio voice, the proximity effect makes me sound sexy.
For sure.
good, I thought.
Like with that. with the
Very
horse coming through.
sexy indeed. Do you like my voice? Would it turn you on? Grrr.
On that note, I think it's time to go.
This shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. This shit, I'm out.
No, stop! I can't say that word. Oh no!
Oh no, it's time to go. Time to go. Take it easy, guys. We'll see you all next week.
Have a good one.